get on. Again, this will be an abbreviated show, 20 minutes into the show, and I'm still not hooked up on everything that I was up on YouTube, I was up on Blog Talk, I was up on Blog TV. Everything has been blocked. Everything has been blocked. And the only thing, I've got 2 or 3 fans here on Blog TV. Everybody else is some ignorant, foul-mouthed troll trying to, and bragging about how they block my show. Now, why would, what are they afraid of? I'll tell you what they're afraid of. They're afraid okay, I'm trying to get this. Now, why isn't this working? Okay, we've got that back up, we've got this back up. Now, folks, we will try to do this one more time. We're trying to do it. Yeah, Blog Talk Radio has blocked Eli James on before, and I was just telling you, Skip Baker, who I've had on my show, and I believe is a fairly honest guy, but he's been sucked in by this murderer William Fink, who did 7 or 8 years in prison. Got religion, but his religion is wanting to go out and kill everybody else. Now, this is what they do, folks. This is how they operate. They find somebody, a church, like Christian Identity. Now, maybe you aren't aware that back when I was publishing the Free American, there were other magazines out there, like Media Bypass, like the Jubilee, that were Christian Identity, that tried to, that were trying to tell you the truth, trying to tell you about Zion-occupied government, Zog taking over. They told you about it, and we formed organizations, and we, the Idaho Observer, Media Bypass, and the Free American, all were working together. And I was doing my worldwide radio show and doing pretty well. We had Free American owned the newsstands in Barnes & Noble and Books A Million for 10 years. I've been publishing that since 1994 up until 2004, and never been sued for libel or slander. Never been sued for libel or slander. And now the rest of America is starting to wake up. The rest of America is starting to say, wait a minute, something's wrong here. And when my book, Mystery Babylon, I put that out about 2 years ago, immediately Eli James and I were attacked. And just to get back to Skip Baker, I told Skip Baker I'll never have him on my show again. I'll never talk to him. I'll never feature any of his artwork ever again. Because he's bought it. Oh, Eli James, he's a Jew. He's a Jew. No, he's not. No, he's not. And what they did, they photographed some guy, some rabbi in Israel that bore a vague resemblance to Eli James. However, I've known Eli for years, and Eli's always had a beard, never looked anything like this guy, couldn't grow that beard, couldn't do it, and and Skip Baker's promoting this for William Fink, who's a lying cop, a murderer, who did 7 years in prison for murdering a prisoner, beating a prisoner to death. I'd like for him to try that with me. Come on, Fink, you. He calls me a Paul basher because I question everything. And That's right. Now, the Mystery Babylon is the handbook for true Christians. We are, my ancestors were right there in the tribe of Judah. We crossed the Caucasus Mountains, became called Caucasians, forgot who we were, as the Bible said, and these Pharisees have been working behind the scenes. They're working behind the Christian churches. They've taken it over, and Cornwallis predicted that would happen. And this is who we've been fighting. This is who we've been fighting all along. Now, I don't know how long the show will last. I don't know how long I can continue to do this. I don't know how long I'm going to be putting up with these guys and getting reamed over here and getting harassed. And what they've done is made it almost impossible for us to exist. Almost made it impossible for us to raise money, for us to make any money. I've got books for sale. I've got videos for sale. And the videos I made 10 years ago are just as relevant today as they were then. Just as relevant, folks. But they don't want you to help me. So you get all these trolls coming on here trying to say this, trying to say that, trying to silence, trying to destroy any support, and they did the same thing to Eli. They tried to break Eli James. You can't, Eli, you're a Christian identity pastor. Clay believes in legalizing marijuana, and you can't back him. You can't back him. You can't back him. No. So Eli signed off, gave me the rights to the book, forfeited his rights, and he's still on my show, and they're still trying to attack him, because as soon as they broke us up, or thought they had, they started attacking him by putting out these false videos, saying this is Joe November, they're saying Eli James, this is Joe November, he's a Jewish rabbi, and they put the they translated his thing to say he was calling himself Eli James. It's all bullshit. And when Skip Baker wouldn't take that off and wouldn't realize that he had been had, he's off my show. He'll never be on my show again until he understands that when you buy into these lies, when you buy into these idiots, these are not CIA agents. They are simply crews that are hired to go out there and try to cause trouble. We call them trolls. They're worse than trolls. They're traitors to this country. Now, folks, I've been doing this now since 1994. In 2004, they tried to kill me. I wrote this book in the last couple of years to explain to you how it works, how long we've been fighting these people, for thousands of years. There's no such thing as a new world order. It's the old world order. And more people are starting to come around. CIA, ex-CIA people have started to come around and trying to tell you what's happening here. Now, what I was going to talk about today is a dream that I had a couple of nights ago. And I dreamed I was sitting inside a pretty plush house or living room with dictators. Dead dictators. It was probably the most vivid dream I've had, and just like I sat and talked to my neighbors here on the front porch, I sat and talked with Muammar Gaddafi, Saddam Hussein, and Chavez from Venezuela, all who have died, all who have been killed for what? Because they tried to oppose the bankers the same way Lincoln did, the same way Andrew Jackson did, the same way that Kennedy did. They succeeded in killing all of those people. And because they control the media, they can cover it up. They can make you think Lee Harvey Oswald did the shooting. They can make you think that somebody else did it. They can take you. They can convince you that a bunch of Arabs with box cutters somehow took over a plane, caused the U.S. Air Force to stand down. When we know it was Dick Cheney and George Bush Jr. that were behind it all. And yes, they are attacking now. They are attacking now, and they're trying to do this. And one of the reasons I put out Mystery Babylon was because in the Homeland Security Assessment, which is right here in Mystery Babylon, their assessment, they found fault. They found fault with the Christian identity, and they found fault with our veterans. Now, I've told you since I started this that the reason they sprayed us with Agent Orange in Vietnam was because they didn't want well-trained, combat-hardened veterans coming back to this country and seeing what a communist regime we had become. And we've been that since the fifth plank in the Communist Manifesto was enacted in 1913. It's 2013. It's time to kill these bankers. Their charter is up. And unless your Congress gives them the right to continue printing your money, this is the most insane thing I can think about. Now, let me tell you, we're living in an age of upside downs where right is wrong, fiction is truth, and war is peace. Those who fight the wars are subjected to their own house of mirrors via pharmaceutical treatments. Instead of providing U.S. soldiers and veterans with actual health care, the government throws pills at them and calls it therapy. Stimulants, antidepressant, antipsychotic, sedatives, and pain meds are the new fuel for Americans' frontline forces. While the idea of sending medicated soldiers into battle was unthinkable decades ago, today it is status quo, and the cost in human lives has never been more tragic. Here are 25 disturbing facts about psych drugs, soldiers, and suicide. They are disturbing because everybody seems to be pretending there's no link between psychiatric drugs and soldier suicides. So soldiers and veterans keep dying while the Pentagon and the VA keep pretending they don't know why. 33% of the U.S. Army is on prescription drugs, and nearly a quarter of those are on psychotropic drugs. In 2010, the Pentagon spent $280 million on psychiatric drugs. That number has since risen. There are now over 8,000 suicides each year by U.S. soldiers and veterans. That's 22 a day. 33% of these suicides are attributed to medication side effects. That means medications are killing more U.S. soldiers and veterans than Al-Qaeda. 500% more soldiers abuse prescription drugs than illegal street drugs. Under the Obama administration, the number of veterans waiting for VA care has risen from 11,000 in 2009 to 245,000 today. More active duty soldiers die from suicide than from combat. 349 dead last year. The number of prescriptions for Ritalin and Adderall written for active duty soldiers has increased 1,000% in the last 5 years. And by the way, folks, the markup on these drugs is about 2,000% or more. For every active duty service member who dies in battle, 25 veterans die by suicide. I've told you that the biggest national tragedy here is the fact that more of my brothers have died here in this country than died in Vietnam. And you want to call me a con artist? You want to call me, you want to call me names? Kiss my ass. You are traitors, and God, you better hope there ain't a race war, because I'm going to look you people up and you're going to be the first ones to die. I am trained to kill. And I've got a lot of brothers out there that are trained to kill. And I've got a lot of people that I've ridden with over the last 45 years that ride motorcycles. The Vietnam Veterans Motorcycle Club is, the FBI says they're the most well-armed paramilitary group in the world. No shit, Sherlock. Oh, and if my language offends you, fuck you. Now, only 1% of Americans have served in the Middle East, but veterans of combat there make up 20% of all suicides in the U.S. The suicide rate for active duty soldiers in the Civil War was only 9 to 15 per 100,000. The suicide rate of active duty U.S. soldiers in the Middle East is 23 per 100,000. And casualty rates were far higher in the Civil War, meaning the Civil War was more psychologically traumatic. In the Korean War, the suicide rate among active duty soldiers was only 11 per 100,000. To date, the Pentagon has spent more than $1 billion on psychiatric drugs, making it one of the biggest customers of Big Pharma. Big Pharma spent over $1 billion on psychiatric drugs, and of that, it probably only cost them a little less than $1 million to produce them. In 2010, over 213,000 active duty military personnel were taking medications considered high risk by the Pentagon. In the years since the Iraq War began, twice as many soldiers in the Texas Army National Guard died with suicide than in combat. Defense Secretary Leo Panetta calls military suicides an epidemic. Of all of the branches of the military, the Army has the highest number of suicides each year, almost 400% more than the Marines. Most active duty soldiers who take psychiatric medications consume a combination of 3 to 5 prescriptions. The use of prescription medications by active duty soldiers is largely unregulated. Soldiers are given a bottle of meds and sent into combat. If they run out of meds, they are given a refill, no questions asked. The mainstream media says the answer to lowering suicides of veterans is to take away their guns so they cannot shoot themselves. This is the logical equivalent of trying to fix your car engines by removing the check engine light. The Pentagon is initiating new research in 2013 to try and figure out why psychiatric medications are causing soldiers to commit suicide. The research involves tracking brain activity by attaching electrodes to the skull. 1/3 of military suicides are committed by soldiers who've never seen combat. In the last year, the military wrote over 54,000 prescriptions for Seroquel to soldiers, and all those prescriptions were off-label, meaning the intended use has never been approved by the FDA as safe or effective. Dr. Bart Billings, a retired Army colonel and former military psychologist, refers to psychiatric drugs as a chemical lobotomy for soldiers. Now, folks, that is very disturbing to me. That is very disturbing to me. And now I'm going to tell you what first of all, folks, I am not wanted. Nobody's looking for me. I've walked into the FBI office and set a bundle of my magazine down on the desk in Albuquerque. Told them to give one to every soldier out there, every FBI agent out there, and told them, I just wanted you guys to know who I am. Well, you know who you are, friend. And the point is, and I was able to walk out. Now, listed as a right-wing extremist by the FBI, listed as in armed and dangerous by the ADL, listed in false patriots by the Southern Poverty Law. You'd think if I was that dangerous a character, they wouldn't let me walk out of the FBI. The fact is that a lot of these FBI agents, a lot of the police out there, a lot of them are oath keepers. So am I. And they are trying to tell you what I have told you. Here's Robert D. Steele. I want you to take a moment to listen to him.
I was very fortunate in both having several graduate degrees and being a Marine Corps infantry officer, Marine Corps intelligence officer, and then a clandestine intelligence case officer. I've programmed imagery satellites, I've helped steal signals code books, I've done counterintelligence. I'm basically intimately familiar with the way in which the U.S. government does or does not do the craft of intelligence.
What you need to know is I'm a spy saying spying doesn't work. It's costing you $1.2 billion a week to produce the president's daily brief for a guy that can't read. People don't realize this. Apart from the fact that NSA is 1950s mindsets with 1970s technologies, SAIC completely screwed up Trailblazer, Echelon is baloney. 80% of your signals intelligence comes from analysis of patterns. So you don't need to violate privacy. All you need to know is that Schmuckhead is calling Afghanistan once a week. General Shinseki knew exactly what was needed to make Iraq go right, and Paul Wolfowitz lied to Congress and said they'll receive us like liberators and stuff. If I had been General Shinseki, I would have grabbed Wolfowitz by the neck and thrown him down the steps of Capitol Hill. You don't let people lie like that. It's unprofessional to confuse loyalty with integrity. And we have had a failure of generalship in America. Our generals have been too eager to keep their stars and not eager enough to think for themselves and uphold the Constitution. Smedley Butler, the highest decorated Marine, said, war is a racket. War is a racket. War is a racket, and the only reason it's happening is because the American public is lethargic. Blog that. You are the Paul Revere's and Patrick Henrys of our generation. Bottom-up horizontal connection is key. Sharing at all levels, not top-down control. Public intelligence and influence is about to take off. We're about to bury rule by secrecy. Civil affairs is the focal point. The intelligence guys need to go back in their box. Bloggers, not informants, are key. The FBI is about to try and hire 2,000 informants in a Soviet police-style approach to security. That's idiocy. If you bloggers self-organize and attach yourself like leeches to specific issues, corporations, organizations, challenges, whatever, you will be the intelligence Minutemen of this century. The power is in your hands. There aren't enough guns to kill us all, and Halliburton can't build the jails fast enough to keep us down. Bloggers, as Linux is organized, where you grab onto an issue or something, and you are part of a structured citizen journalism blogging thing that lets no evil doing go unnoticed, that rules. So I think we're at a turning point. I think we're at the very beginning of a historic tidal shift in power, restoring the Constitution. I don't know how many of you are following this, but the Comptroller General has told Congress the United States of America is insolvent. We're out of Schlitz. We literally have no money to make it to the next decade. Now, there's some very easy solutions. I can eliminate all income taxes tomorrow and have more than enough money to fund the government by using some other guy's bright idea. We tax the Federal Reserve at 0.0006, doubles our money until we decide to put them out of business permanently, because we certainly should not have central banks. We've put together an electoral reform pledge, and it's my view that any member of Congress, any member of the Senate that refuses to sign both the constitutional pledge supporting the Constitution and the electoral reform pledge should be put out of business. And I believe that will be 95% of all of these people. It may be time to literally dump Congress on its ass and start over. The government has gotten stupid to the point that it can't write a statement of work. And so they ask the contractors to write a statement of work, and the contractors write a statement of work saying, you need more of what I haven't been able to sell. And the government says, oh yeah, right, good. Put it in the budget. This is real shit. I can crack all 10 of the top-level threats to humanity in less than 25 years for less than one-third of what the world is spending on the military. Blog that. And I will tell you the price of buying back the United States government is $500 million a year. In the early 90s, Newt Gingrich and the Republicans got together. Their plan is now on the street. It's been exposed by a Columbia professor. They concluded that they could buy the United States government from school board to State House to White House for $300 million a year, and by golly, they did. And every single member of Congress is impeachable for having abdicated their Article I responsibilities under the Constitution and serving as foot soldiers for the president and his mendacious vice president. If you confiscate all the wealth in the world, which I do not advocate, all you have is a $5 bill for every one of the 5 billion poor on the planet. For what we have spent on the Iraq War, I could have given a free cell phone to every one of the 5 billion poor on the planet. I could have taken the 10% residual capabilities on DoD satellites, abandoned communication satellites, and I could have provided free T1 to the Southern Hemisphere. Blog that. That's the kind of stuff we have to do. Because if we don't do that, those 5 billion people, instead of producing wealth that stabilizes the earth, are going to produce plagues, epidemics, criminal gangs, drugged up people. Ralph Peters, a friend of mine, and the bottom line here is the only path to wine, women, and wealth for badasses anywhere on the planet that have no money is guns. And what's happening here is we're at the very beginning. We're just starting to come out of our little eggshell. When the industrial era began, it broke the connection between kinship and trust. And it started treating people as commodities. And then we lost sight of our government and we allowed the corporations to buy the government. The United States of America no longer represents we the people. But you can change that. The reason it's not working today is because we have a military-industrial complex that profits from secrecy and war, and it does not profit from efficiency and peace. Blog that. The bottom line here is that central banking is an evil cancer. These people are selling us credit they don't have so they can take profits they don't deserve out of our pockets. That's nuts. The United States government constitutionally chartered to print money on the good faith and credit of all of us and not pay interest. Why are we being such fools? Well, unfortunately, if you fight them, you get assassinated. Lincoln and Kennedy were both about to print money and not borrow from the banks. I can't connect those two dots, but I can tell you they're side by side. But the reality is the federal government is broken in every possible way. And it's going to be localized, bottom-up resilience networks. They're going to save us. That's where you guys come in. Our educational system stinks. It beats the creativity out of kids by the time they're in the 4th grade. It forces you to become a blogger or hacker in order to become creative. So you guys are the lifeboat. We've gone from America the Beautiful to America the Shit. Now, I believe we need to start blogging retrospective impeachments. I'm not saying we need to hang them or tar them or feather them, just out them. I think it's time for citizen investigative journalism to go deep and go back and go current. And people need to understand they can't get away with this stuff. There is absolutely no lack of solution, and there is also no lack of money. What is lacking is the popular political will to exercise our God-given right to be in charge. I got thrown off Fox News for saying the global war on terror wasn't real. Well, it's not. Okay? I mean, until we can get to one man, one bullet for the top 6,000, we can contain the next level, and we can provide a quality of life for everybody on the planet at the lowest level, we're not going to get it. The Air Force solution for terrorism is to kill one guy in an entire village, which of course creates 100 to 200 additional terrorists because of that indiscriminate war crime. It's just nuts. And it's nuts because the media isn't doing their job, and so it falls to you. And my dream is to have someone adopt every zip code and start doing that weekly report for their zip code. And then those little reports will start having babies, and it'll start spreading. Your government is stupid, and they're stupid deliberately. The intelligence community does not do open source information because they like to think that the cabinet departments are doing their open source information. That's not true. The cabinet departments don't know how to do decision support. What they know how to do is take stakeholder interests and turn them into policy that increases budget share. That is not what I call reality-based budgeting. Politics today has gotten so dirty it's not worth anybody's time if they've got a brain. Well, I don't have a brain, I have a soul. And I believe that America